Right. Hello, everyone. Today we have Minko from the Angular team with us. Hey, Minko, how are you?
Hi, doing great. How are you, Kiro?
I'm doing great. Thanks for coming. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your role in the Angular team. What do you do there?
Sure, yeah. So I have been involved in the Angular community in one way or another for over 12 years now. I was an external contributor in the GDE and joined the Angular team about 5 years ago. And currently, I'm mostly responsible for figuring out what we'll be building and why. And also, I manage the developer relations team. And working on merging with Wiz, our internal framework, leading this
Oh,
effort.
yeah, we're going to talk about that because there have been some announcements, but many people did not understand what was going on there. Um, cool. Let's talk about the merge. We have, can you see the chat? We should be a chat tab somewhere, and everybody is welcome to ask questions if you have any questions for Minka. But yeah, so tell me about Wiz. For me, like it was not big news because people have been talking about it for a while inside Google. But for people from the outside, it was like, by the way, there is this framework you never heard about, and we're
Yeah.
gonna merge it with Angular, and we're not telling you what the result will be. So tell us more.
Yeah. I think Mishko might have talked a little bit about it. When he built Quick, he was very much inspired by Wiz. So Wiz has been very well optimized for performance since it was developed originally. I think originally they built it for Google Plus, which Google Plus didn't end up succeeding, but Wiz succeeded. And it is currently used for some of the biggest applications, specifically consumer-focused applications of Google, such as Google Search, Photos, Gmail, uh, Google Docs, Google Drive, YouTube right now. And some of them have like more performance focus than others. For example, Google Search, it is critical there for to be as fast as possible. But for YouTube, they're still using Wiz, but with like slightly different focus.
Hmm.
And over time, we have been seeing that developers inside of Google and outside of Google, they have been asking us for some of the features that kind of approximate the feature that Wiz has. And Wiz has been getting a lot of requests for some of the features that Angular has, specifically around developer experience. And instead of building the same set of features all over again, we decided to see how we can reuse each other's features in a way, or at least conceptually, because reusing code in two different frameworks is not always trivial, and how we can merge these two frameworks into one. So that's on a high level. We had some success already with signals. So I was in the signals discussion on the Angular team, and also I was in the lead discussions of the Wiz team, and saw that Wiz is planning to build signals for YouTube, and
Hmm.
we were also building signals. So it didn't make sense to have two different signals libraries. So we ended up reusing the Angular signals for YouTube, and later on also we tried to standardize them with TIS39, and signals are currently stage one, and the
I've seen
reference
that's
implementation is using Angular.
very exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the way I understand, I didn't look much into this, but isn't it written in like, don't you write code in Java and then you have soy template
Yeah.
or something like that? How does it play with JavaScript signals and how does it work?
Yeah, so there are different flavors of Wiz. There is the classic Wiz with server-side rendering on like you write these templates. It's a template language. I'll say it's very different than Angular's template language, but it has the same idea. You have templates that are not necessarily HTML only, and they're not like TSX. They're actually that's not completely true because you can use TSX for these templates. You can
I've
compile them
seen
to.
some CSX code, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a different flavor of TSX. Also, it is something. It is it is closer to Solid.js compared to React. It is statically analyzable TSX, which
Hmm.
you can compile to JavaScript or you can compile to Java, which is
Okay.
pretty fun because at Google we do server-side rendering with Java since there are concerns that JavaScript server-side rendering would be too slow and there are fair concerns. There has been exploration by some teams at Google to rewrite some of the some computational engines from JavaScript to from Java to JavaScript, and they got 5 times slower, I think.
Oh no.
So we need to do more tests to see how exactly whether the impact on server-side rendering will be the same. So yeah, we can't reuse the logic for server-side rendering right now, but we can reuse the logic that is running in the browser. Like there is an event delegation library called JS Action that kind of handles the progressive or the partial fine-grained hydration. That's how I would call it. Like
Okay.
slowly to incrementally download code and make your application interactive.
Okay. But that Java you write in Wiz does get compiled to JavaScript
In
in the end?
Wiz, so in Wiz, I guess you write the soy templates or the TSX templates that are in this intermediate templating language, and it compiles to Java. And I guess you write in Java the parts that, like, let's say in Angular, you can directly call a function in your a method in your templates, and you
Mm-hmm.
just directly calls the methods of your
Yeah.
component. But if you compile this to Java, there is no way for you to like call your like JavaScript methods. I mean, there might be a way through maybe some like bridges between the Java virtual machine and the JavaScript virtual machine, but it's going to be too slow and impractical. We pretty much don't want to run JavaScript on the server. So if you call a method in your template, you need to re-implement in Java as well. So you write some Java there.
Okay. Cool. So now tell us about all the great features which we wanted from Wiz. I understand that's a lot of it related to server-side rendering and hydration. And yeah, tell us more. What?
Yeah, it's mostly about server-side rendering right now. So I guess there are a couple of great implications of this merger, or like convergence.
We're not going to start learning Java, right?
No,
Okay.
no. The couple of good things are first, like I guess now YouTube is using Angular signals, so over time, more and more of these consumer products will be using parts of Angular, and they'll be getting like more and more over time. Now it's only Angular signals, but we're looking into how we can converge on the instruction set on the runtime of in the browser, like the IV instructions, whether we can kind of find a set of instructions that is like a satisfying like set of instructions from like Wiz and Angular that could satisfy like the runtimes of both frameworks. And one day we may start seeing ng version attributes on these big applications, which is pretty cool. And this
Interesting.
would further kind of reassure people that like Angular is doing well. And the other thing is around performance. What you mentioned, servers, a lot of the improvements will be around server-side rendering. So I see it how we're over time going to become even more granular in the way we hydrate the view and to load even less JavaScript over time. We have some prototypes. Maybe later during the stream I can show them.
Oh yeah, that'll be fun. Cool. Okay, but then again, since a lot of stuff in Wiz is in Java, and like, are you just taking some concepts from Wiz, or how are you? Like, what?
Yeah,
Yeah, just trying to understand
yeah.
what the merge will look like.
So one good thing is both the templates of Angular and the templates of Wiz, they're statically analyzable.
Mm-hmm.
And both could be like Angular templates. We can still compile them to Java, but like if you have inline function call, inline method calls, we will not be able to do that on the server.
Mm-hmm.
So one good thing is that these both like the templates are already statically analyzable, and we can over time like merge them with some exceptions. And this is going to happen in the future. Now we're focused on the low hanging fruit, which is around JavaScript event delegation. We published a library recently that I should be able to find in the Angular Mon repo called Event Dispatch.
Okay.
And this is kind of the JS action. You have probably heard about it from Wiz. And the signals library. So, and currently we're focusing on what is happening in the browser. So you don't have to we don't have to dig into the Java part of the story. So in the browser right now, like Wiz can do something like very similar to resumability. Like I guess resumability, what Quick was inspired about, with having um, like being able to download individual controllers that are responsible for handling certain events during hydration.
Mhm.
And Angular is not there yet. So right now we're converging on this event delegation primitive, and over time we'll be converging on more of this kind of code loading, fine granular code loading logic. So
Mhm.
the actual server-side rendering, that's something that doesn't have immediate benefits for Angular developers outside of Google, because people are satisfied with Node.js externally. Maybe one
Mhm.
day we'll figure out something that is way more efficient and developers would benefit out of it, but we're not there yet. So we're focused on where we can get immediate benefits for Angular developers, and from there, we're going to tackle the rest later.
Makes sense. So a bigger part of it is actually being able to have server-side rendering at Google with Angular, which we do not have yet. And
Yeah, I would say even this is not too critical right now, because this would not necessarily bring the value to external developers. And in Google, there are some there are like some applications that are interested in server-side rendering, but overall, the demand is not that high right now. We're
makes
trying
sense.
to yeah, that's the event delegation library. I shared it with you in the private chat. You can share it in the.
Yeah, let's chat about that. So the way I understand it is, instead of putting event listeners on every single node which requires an action, you basically tag it with some kind of attribute, and then you handle global events. And that's an internal thing for, like, and basically you just propagate and you see like which elements in the chain have the tag, and then you react to it. And that allows you to send some stuff from the server with those event tags, but no actual events, and still handle stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's pretty much it.
so that's going to be an internal change in Angular, right? It's not going to affect the users. Like, we will not even know it's there when they see like how it works. Do I understand correctly?
Yeah, so we're going to incorporate in two ways. One of them is to the first one is to implement partial hydration, and yeah, nobody would be really interacting with this library at all. They would not
Okay.
have to.
So this is more for like other framework authors if they want it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we are talking to RxJS, for example, to see whether they would be interested. They seem to be interested, but so we need to figure out what is the optimal way to like generalize it. Currently, Angular and Wiz are using it, which already kind of provides some proof that kind of some signal that some
Signal.
indication some indication that it could be valuable across more frameworks.
Oh, I love how I can see like more cross framework work. That's very exciting.
Yeah, and so that's one of the ways we could use it, and that's a demo that I can show later. The other way we could use it is just to reduce the amount of the number of event listeners that we create, because imagine you have
Performance.
like a large data grid with thousands of event listeners, where you have like in parentheses click event handlers, and we call at event listener for each one of them. So if we have only one global event handler, this would be way more efficient.
Makes sense. Okay, very important question. Have you ever heard about small or like dollar mole framework?
About what? Sorry.
Dollar mole framework, or small. Okay, we can move on to the next question if you haven't heard. It's a local Russian framework, which is amazing.
Oh, I would like to look at it.
I'll share later. Yes. Okay, I will answer this one. I'm just looking at the questions now. What about DevTools in Angular? Will there be documentation for level tools for Angular?
Oh, I
To
found it.
build.
Sorry, found the wall framework. I'll look at it after.
Okay. uh, to build your own Angular DevTools. Yeah, so will there be like some hooks or APIs for lower level debugging tools for Angular? Do you have any such plans?
Yeah, we're building some. So there are already debugging tools that we created for Angular DevTools that are under like the ng global variable that you can access in development mode. So you can access the profiler that just allows you to like invoke your functions throughout the runtime of the application. We have some global functions also for inspecting the injector tree. They're still under the global ng, and we're also looking into debugging tools for signals. So we're going to probably open some like hooks there as well at a certain point.
Cool. Asking about getters in the template, does it affect performance with on push strategy?
Well, it depends what you have in your getters, I guess.
Very open-ended question, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know much about pre-tier in VS Code with Angular templates? It seems like it's not working well for some people.
If it's not, let me know. We're working with the prettier team. Actually, it's using the Angular template parser for parsing HTML, so it should be working.
Is it like for parsing all HTML or Angular specific?
Yeah,
all of it. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, Dmitry, you can just ping me and I'll forward whatever your suggestions you have for Minko. Okay, I think this is a duplicate. Okay, they're asking you to show the code. Yeah, let's check out those prototypes. Very exciting.
Yeah, sounds good.
While you're pulling this up, what's happening with Angular Dart? Is it still alive? Are they like, what's the status of that?
Yeah, they're also very heavily involved in this like conversions effort. So over time, Angular and Angular Dart they kind of diverged a little bit
Mm-hmm.
because like back in 2016, back then I wasn't part of the team. I was an external contributor, and I was trying to contribute to Angular, and I would see this like one repository that is implemented in TypeScript with some abstractions that like compiles to Dart and JavaScript was super complicated. And it was really so complicated that the teams they couldn't be productive by writing code this way. So we decided to fork them, and both frameworks kind of diverged a little, covering different kind of use cases. And now we're kind of back together. We're discussing how the change detection evolved in Dart, Angular Dart, and what are the good parts of it, and how we can introduce them in Angular, and vice versa. So yeah, it's still alive and in use at Google.
Yeah, we have a meme in Russia. It's called Axiom of Escobar, where there are two options, and both of them are very bad. I don't know if you should fork or try to support this monstrosity thing. Yeah, are you able to share your screen?
Yeah, I just opened the. Let me just run ngserve. Oh, actually, yeah, I can share my screen. I was sharing different things.
Yeah.
Or maybe actually the entire screen should be fine.
Whatever works for you. Restream has some new UI, so okay, I found it.
Do you see my screen here?
Yes, let me remove the caption. I think by now your name in the title, so I'll figure it out that you're not me.
By the way, I found Alexei. I think I met you at a conference, and I was trying to remember, and I'm pretty sure I met you on Holy.js.
Very likely. Alexei organizes Angular Moscow, or he used to.
And he's on our GD channel too.
Yes, so. He's a GD as well. So yes.
Awesome.
Very likely.
So yeah, here is a simple application that we have. I'll refresh, and we're going to look at the code too.
Cool. What's this?
So it looks like a mug, but it's a real running app.
Okay.
It is kind of like a very small prototype of a e-commerce, like a shopping cart app. Mm-hmm. We have a header with a navigation and a footer.
Okay.
The shopping cart is right here with items. And there is a product, details, and you can add to the cart. And we have intentionally delayed, slowed down the hydration. the application. So originally, when you there should be. So originally, when you open the application, like nothing is hydrated. We just have the UI that is like rendered on the server, just
So
static.
this is just a bunch of HTML coming from the server.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay.
And if we look at the page source, we have a small library right here.
So how much is the whole bundle thing we're loading, or is
Oh,
it in dev?
we haven't been optimizing for it. Let me open it. So I don't. Let's see. We haven't been necessarily like optimizing for it. So we're still downloading polyfill. So it's still quite a lot of JavaScript.
Yeah, like
That's sorry.
okay.
Go ahead.
It's not minimized, right? Or is this minimized?
It's not minimized. Yeah, this is in dev mode.
Okay.
But like here we have main.js, I guess, but we haven't like hydrated any of the components. When I start loading the JavaScript, sorry. When I start loading the JavaScript, what is going on here? I was very unhappy with what I'm doing. It's downloads. It will download one of the components after a couple of seconds. I downloaded the header and the navigation and the shopping cart and the footer, but didn't download anything else.
Okay.
When I click on add cart, it's yeah. When I clicked on add cart, it started hydrating on demand the specific components. So what happened is that I clicked on cart, the event was handled at top level. It figured out that the event came from add to cart. It figured out that the component associated with add to cart is the details component, and it figured out that its parent is product. So it downloaded first product because the product can register some providers that are used in detail. So we currently need to download product as well. Hydrated product, and from there hydrated details as well. And once everything was completed, replayed the event so that we can add one item to the shopping cart. And when I click on this button here, add to cart, same happened. Downloaded the component, hydrated, and replayed the event. And did the same. Was going to do the same here, but it wouldn't download the component since it is.
So from the DX, this is just a bunch of defers, right? There is no like other magic.
Yeah.
Besides, okay.
Yeah. Here is this is the prototype. Actually, it's not necessarily the what we're going to have at the end. So currently on the server, if you have a defer block, let's say you have on viewport.
Okay.
And there is a placeholder. And we have something, wherever, some content here. So on the server, as of right now, we're only going to download the on the server, we're going to render only the placeholder. We're not going to render the content of the defer block.
So server render is aware of how to handle the defer based on like different conditions. That's what you're saying, right?
I was actually saying that that's what we're doing right now. In this prototype, we are rendering the deferred block content. So we're going to render this whole thing, but we're not going to download. We're going to kind of mark it as like a lazily hydratable content or something like that, which is going to hydrate only when we interact with the application. So this is not going to be the final syntax. It's probably going to be something like that on server or something.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
In order for us to indicate that we would like to render the content of the deferred block onto the server and apply this like partial hydration logic. Yeah. And there are a couple of differences here with Wiz, for instance. In Wiz, everything is kind of deferred by default.
Mm-hmm.
But in Angular, we wouldn't want to do that at first, at least, because, like, first of all, we don't know how this is going to impact developer experience. We know that Wiz developers would like to have some of the developer experience of Angular because sometimes this implicit code loading, like, it can create waterfalls in your code. So you have to have either more like complicated infrastructure to handle the code loading. For example, like, imagine like if I click on add to cart,
Mm-hmm.
I need to download the product and the details components, and I need to download them in this particular order. So this creates a waterfall right here. And
Mm-hmm.
if I have a chain, like a nested component chain, there could be like 15 components, and downloading them one by one is not going to be great. So at
Okay.
Google, we have infrastructure for this. With, like, MSS does this. It
Mm-hmm.
would concatenate the chunks somewhere on the edge, and it's going to return this whole JavaScript.
So MSS, actually, I'm still not sure what it is, but that's something which helps us serve things. Like when you run local build, or I
Yeah,
think broad build as well, there's this MSS thing which figures out how to serve things, right?
yeah. We need more complicated serving infrastructure, and
Mhm.
not everyone currently offers it, for instance. And also having implicit kind of like, the assumption is that this is like, let's say if we didn't have the deferred blocks, the assumption is that this is all like synchronously loaded JavaScript. Why would we, like, this is all like synchronous? Like,
Mhm.
I wouldn't expect to have any implicit asynchronous boundaries. Like Quick uses, for example, the component dollar syntax to, like, the dollar syntax to show that there are like some lazily loading, some synchronous boundaries. But I mean, it comes with trade-offs. Debugging, you have a bunch
Yeah.
of promises that you need to deal with.
Mhm.
So yeah, at first we're going to have explicit lazily loaded boundaries with defer,
Okay.
and we're going to iterate on the implementation of deferrable views as well. So currently, when I click on add to cart, we need to hydrate the product. Over
Mhm.
time, there might be a mode in which we can only hydrate the details component and hydrate the product only if we need it to handle
Mm.
something.
But how would you know? You'll need some kind of like data primitive for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And we will need to know, yeah. We will need, or like, dependency injection could be constrained in some way as well. So that,
Mhm.
or we need to analyze the injectors at build time to figure out
Mhm.
whether the product declares any providers that would be needed in details.
Wow. Cool. Yeah. So it looks like there is like lots of work on like hydration and server-side rendering and.
Yeah, I'll say with 20% of the work, with partial hydration, we're probably going to provide developers like 80% of the benefits. And from
Okay.
there, we're going to spend the next 5 years just making it better.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Question about Angular popularity. Looks like there is some popularity trends on Stack Overflow survey, and Angular is losing popularity. What do you plan to do something with that?
Yeah, yeah, we have been. I mean, things are, depends also which metrics you look at. We have been working a lot on the, like, these new features, getting people excited about Angular again. Let me just start with Ivy because I think that was where the popularity started. Kind of, Angular started losing some popularity. We spent 3 years just implementing this, like, rendering engine Ivy, and we wanted to keep the framework like entirely backward compatible, and we were not delivering on any of the requests of the community, unfortunately. And we couldn't really innovate with Angular. So
Yeah,
people
it's been a
decided that
drag.
Angular was that.
Yeah, it's been a drag. took some time to.
Yeah. Folks decided that the framework is in more of a maintenance mode. And
Mhm.
since then, for the past, it's going to be almost 2 years now, we have been shipping more features. And if you look at like Angular is trending regularly on Twitter, for example, and it takes time until these trends get more stable and also start impacting like other metrics that we're following. We're also looking at Stack Overflow, and um, we would ideally want to be trending again with the number of tags. Another thing that is impacting Stack Overflow is that previously Angular was used for AngularJS and Angular frequently, and now we're definitely discouraging people to use AngularJS.
Oh, and okay,
So the number of tags for Angular tags are dropping as well.
okay.
Uh,
I
but
mean, also Stack Overflow is not in a great spot right now. I think they have a similar problem because of ChatGPT.
yeah, this
Do
too.
you do you use ChatGPT a lot for like or any other like AI code helpers?
I've been kind of use I've been using mostly I've been using both, like I guess Bart and Chat GPT. I'm not Bart, it's Gemini now. Yeah.
Gemini, yes.
How about you?
Um, I do use it. Yeah, especially like for coding, if I use a new library, which is fairly popular to for ChatGPT to know about it, I even don't need documentation. Like
Yeah.
I was writing a parser in Python, like a language I'm not very good at, with a library I never heard of, and I had to go to the docs once, and I did like pretty complicated stuff. So it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Um,
Was that a side project or something at work?
Yeah, just for fun. I wanted to parse logs on our server, probably MSS involved somewhere there, and make them more clear. But it was just too much work, so haven't finished that yet.
Yeah. I had a few more comments about the popularity of Angular and stuff
Yeah.
that we're working on. So we have been so that was one of the problems that we had with just not shipping features, and it was understandable that people wouldn't be using much Angular. And also, Vue Engine was like pretty tough to build applications with. Remember these weird errors when you like in providers when you use this, and
Yeah.
it was pretty painful, and like lazy loading there was terrible because of these external factories. And so the framework was not in the best place it has ever been. Now it's significantly better with Ivy. We're shipping new features, but also another issue with Angular was that Angular was really hard to use. With like TypeScript back then was not really as popular as this right now, and developers were struggling a lot with typings, with
Mhm.
type errors. So this is something that kind of improved as a kind of became a standard, I guess, in the JavaScript ecosystem almost. Like occasionally you still see people struggling with types because of a variety of reasons. But like for example, Svelte, they want to build the framework entirely in JavaScript now and use types only in comments.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And we have been iterating on altering format improvements to make Angular more accessible and better documentation, with Angular.dev having an interactive journey. And getting in touch with boot camps to, if anyone, by the way, wants to teach Angular, we can provide up-to-date course for getting started with Angular that is good for building your curriculum around.
Hmm?
So, and also in order to reflect all these changes in the framework, we updated the brand, and from here we're hoping that the trend will change. We currently see some indication that the trend is changing, but it also things take time.
Yeah, I mean, I've just seen people being excited about Angular on Twitter recently, which I hadn't seen before. So it seems like we're going in the right direction.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah. For the preacher, so what happened? It was with the new at construct thing, the at if, and I think it's supported in a newer version. So just update prettier. How how did you decide to add those new like control structures? Because it's kind of adds another way of doing the same thing and kind of adds complexity for developers, and lots of formatters were not ready, obviously. Like what made you choose this specific strategy?
Yeah, there are a few things. So previously, we were very opinionated about HTML templates being valid HTML and being able to express everything with valid HTML. But after thinking a little bit about it, well, we're compiling this HTML to JavaScript, and we're rendering valid, like we're rendering DOM that is like valid HTML at the end. So
Mm-hmm.
we were not really providing much value by making sure that your templates are valid HTML. So we changed we changed our mindset a little bit around this. And the way we decided to implement new control flow, we run user studies with developers with different backgrounds, um, where we ask them to implement a small to-do application with Angular signals, and we saw that everyone struggled with ng4. Like all the React, Vue developers, Svelte developers, they just couldn't complete the task because of ng4. So we implemented a new template, a new control flow syntax, kind of prototyped it, tested it a little bit. It was inspired by Svelte, and we shared it on RFC. And people didn't mind it, but a community member proposed an alternative syntax, the add syntax that we're currently using. And to make sure that we pick the most optimal control flow syntax, we also run a bunch of surveys.
Mm-hmm.
The Angular annual developer survey had it. Our internal Google developer survey had it, and both surveys concluded that the add syntax is what developers preferred. So we moved forward with it. So kind of a long story about it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, out of all the weird characters options, I think I liked it the best. But I'm a bit uncertain about, just having this thing which looks like text, and then parser does not understand it, and like the problems with prettier. But I guess that's going away soon with yeah, people just have to get used to it. Will you allow to extend those things and have your own?
No, yeah, we're not going to do that. Yeah, it's
Not
just
not
ask
not
more.
not ever, or not anytime soon.
Uh, we don't have plans to do that. Yeah, hopefully we wouldn't do it. It's just going to increase the API surface. The compiler is going to get more complicated, and it would prevent us from just iterating quicker on the compiler. So
Mhm.
before joining the Angular team, I really wanted a stable compiler API because I was playing with parsing it and visualizing it and statically analyzing it,
Mhm.
and the team wouldn't like make it stable for me because they were back then. I was talking to one guy, to Chuck. He worked like on in Portland in the past,
Mhm.
in like one of the like regional companies working on programming languages, and he later worked on the Chakra, the
The
Java
Microsoft JavaScript.
JavaScript, yeah, on the parser there, and worked on the Angular compiler. And he was telling me, well, if we can make the compiler faster with like 5% by
Mhm.
breaking APIs in a patch version, we're gonna do it.
Uh-huh.
So we're not gonna make these APIs stable. I was like, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So were you able to make it stable now? That you.
No, they're not public APIs. They're only developer. They're only for us, so that we
Uh-huh.
can compile code and interact with the Angular CLI. And we have not been. We don't have plans to make them developer facing to open them.
Okay, but now you know why.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like the story about like somebody joined the company, fixed the bug, and then they left. uh,
pretty much. Yeah,
uh, yeah. Okay. Single file components. I guess we just put TSX in the same bucket. Is this coming?
yeah. I don't know yet. We are definitely interested in single file components, but we also want to make sure that we pick something that developers want to use. And making syntactical changes is pretty tricky. Everyone has very strong feelings about it, and we and there are certain kind of technical trade-offs that we make with each individual authoring format. We're definitely looking into how we can improve the authoring experience. So that's definitely very important for us.
Okay. Okay, are we getting rid of RxJS and Zone.js?
Yeah. Um, well, we want to make Zone.js optional for sure. So we want to make sure that you don't have to create new applications. We want to make sure that you can create new applications without Zone.js, and we want to make sure the same with RxJS. But in the future, I would say if you can use like if you can build an application without Zone.js, so if you don't have to maintain your applications that are using already Zone.js, we would encourage you to just not use Zone.js at all. With RxJS, we're not as opinionated. Like you, by default, you'll be able to create new projects without RxJS. And I'm saying in the future because we're not there yet. We still have a dependency of RxJS even in the framework. Application ref has a dependency on RxJS
Mhm.
right now. Um, but like even though we will enable by default we'll create applications without RxJS, if you really want to use RxJS, you'll still be able to. And with the RxJS interop packages, we want to make sure that your experience is even better than it has been before.
Cool. Alexei confirms that you actually did meet.
Yeah,
Um, he's not GDE though, but he's still a huge Angular fanboy. Okay.
I have, by the way, I have the same headshot from HolyJS. The same photographer took a picture of me also. Yeah,
Oh, I don't think I've been on that one. I, I had the headshot at some point.
this is
Th-
Moscow.
th-
Yeah.
yeah. So the signal proposal, we touched a little bit on that. Are you or that your team involved in any way, or are you just like supporting it
Yeah,
from the
we're
outside?
involved. We're heavily involved. We have Alex and Pavel who are working on signals, and we have also Jatin. Jatin is someone who probably you start hearing about like more frequently. He's the technical lead for Wiz, and he's also very heavily involved with the convergence effort. Um, Even the reference implementation for signals, it uses Angular signals, since Angular signals is the only signals library that is used across frameworks right now, and it is used at such scale such as YouTube. So we're very heavily involved and interested.
Okay, I'm trying to read a very long comment from Alexei. Instead of trying to determine what needs to be updated and when, we can simply update everything constantly. That's what React does now. This approach may seem counterintuitive, but it can be controlled by algorithms from garbage collection. These algorithms can slow down the speed of updating ideas to update. It's a bit out of context, Alexei. Yeah, yeah. Do you understand the question, or I think it's just a
Yeah.
idea? What do you think if you do understand it?
Uh, well, I guess the first part of it is instead of trying to determine what needs to be updated, I think here I'm not sure if Alex is talking about the about like seems like it's talking about like reactivity and updating the view when the state changes. Angular is currently updating everything constantly with Zone.js, and we can determine what is part, which components are part of the viewport, and only update them too. I mean, it's possible with signals we don't have to do that also. So it's with signals we know what exactly has been updated, has changed, and we can directly go there and update the view. So
Yeah, which is
we
kind of
yeah
the point of signals is the opposite, right?
yeah
So once you get rid of RxJS, like what will you use in things like HTTP client or forms?
yeah yeah. We need to design it first. We'll see.
Okay, so it will
Yeah
be a new kind of asynchronous primitive.
yeah I'm thinking about with HTTP specifically. With these are my speculations. Like we when we design things, we talk to other teams and figure out what they want to use, and we have design documents, and the whole team or subset of the team comments on these design documents. For I'm thinking about HTTP. It could be just promises right now,
I
honestly,
think
just because we're
HTTP,
yeah.
yes, but like for forms, for example, where you have like multiple, or for how is it called? The thing is that you're using RxJS like app instance or whatever thing, where you have
Yeah.
multiple things.
Well, I'm thinking about forms. There is 10 stack forms, for instance, that has integration with Angular as well. Right now, I don't think they use RxJS there, for
Do they
example.
just callbacks?
Yeah, you can use callbacks. You can in certain places it might make sense to use signals and effects when you can track like if the individual form values are signals. When you read them in an effect, you'll be able to kind of have reactivity there and get updates every time when the value changes. I like right now I don't have the design in my head also, so I don't think that's the best design decision, but
Hmm.
it's an option.
Cool. Why are router params not available through dependency injection?
Why router
Like,
params are
yeah,
not?
yeah.
Oh, I don't know. We need Andrew, who is working on the router, to answer this.
Okay. Uh, cool. We're out of questions. Anybody has any other questions? Um, Otherwise, I would like to hear like what are you like most excited about in the future, and also Angular 18 is coming soon, right?
Yeah, in a little over a month.
What are some highlights from Angular 18?
Yeah, let me look at our release document and share some of the things that are coming.
You can share the screen if you want, if it's not secret or
I'll just like talk
okay.
through them. So yeah, deferrable views is going to be. We're announcing it as stable. It is promoting it to stable. I guess it is very heavily used already, actually. So makes sense if you feel free to use it also. Same with the control flow, and Angular.io is going to be automatically redirecting people to Angular.dev. That is a pretty new thing.
That's the new thing. Hmm.
Zone coalescing by default. So on request animation frame, I believe we're scheduling change detection now, and
What
that's
does it
that's
mean?
so I can share the pull request, but we have been having zone event coalescing in Zone.js for a while. Uh, let me find. Well, like so currently we run change detection after every microtask queue, every microtask when the microtask queue of the browser is empty. So like after promise resolve, we can think about it this way. And it could be like very very frequent. We've
Hmm.
seen some applications run change detection 5,000 times during initialization, like real applications.
Hmm.
And you probably don't need to run change detection that frequently, even though it's fast. So we'll be kind of buffering change detection calls and having only a single change detection call on request animation frame with version 18. So
Oh,
instead,
I see. You're gonna batch them all together, and
yeah,
okay.
yeah,
So it basically debounce
yeah.
for
For
Zone.js.
and this is only for new applications because in certain cases your application may depend on this behavior that we currently have. So it's not going to be the default for everyone.
Hmm.
Yeah, we're going to have also hydration for internet for like I18N. That was a
Hmm.
problem for a lot of enterprises that didn't allow
Hmm.
developers didn't allow like adoption of hydration.
What does it mean? Does it mean that messages rendered on the server did not get translated, or like what does it mean?
Yeah, if you had I18M block, we would just not hydrate it. We would just like fall back to destructive hydration. We would just re-render this template, this list part of the template.
Oh, I see.
And now this is actually going to be working fine.
Okay.
Fallback content for ng content is another thing that we're working on. So
Oh, like a default ng content?
yeah,
Oh, that's exciting. Okay.
yeah. What else? Redirect to the router redirect to would be a function. So this is closing a popular feature request. And in the future, this is not going to land in version 18. It's coming soon though. There is already a design document about it. There would be a way to declare local template variables.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm pretty excited about this one.
Will it be like the thing? Yeah,
Yeah, currently we're looking at let.
atlet.
Yeah.
Oh, like an atlet. Okay. Cool. The demo that you shared. Oh no, somebody is spamming us with the cheap viewers. Okay. Who's the moderator? Please remove this. No, I forgot what I was asking. Oh yeah, you shared the demo. It's not public yet, right?
It's
Not on GitHub.
it's like a very early demo, so we prefer to not like share it just yet. Yeah.
Okay, so it was
It's
an exclusive demo just for the stream.
yeah, it's a very hacky implementation right now. Later on, we're going to have like a more official version.
Cool. Okay, I know Minko has something in the end of the hour, so we're gonna let you go a little bit earlier so have some time to prepare. Any last questions in the chat, which are not ads? I have 30 more seconds. But yeah, otherwise, thank you so much for coming. It was fun chatting to you.
Yeah, thank you for having Carol. Thank you all for the questions. And yeah, Alexi, I'll see you at the next college Monday.
Sounds great. All right, no question. Thank you so much. Have a good day.